Game number 7, my Trails binge continues. This time I'm talking about the Legend of Heroes Ao No Kiseki, also known in the West as Trails to Azure. Released in Japan in 2011, this is a direct sequel to Trails from Zero, and if you know anything about Trails games, you do not jump into the series midway through. There is a massive requirement to play Trails from Zero first, so I'll leave a link in the description to my review for it, which also has details regarding how to legally play it in English. Now, like its predecessor, Ao No Kiseki has also never seen a Western release. However, there is a fan translation out there for the PC version, which titles the game Trails to Azure. This is the version that I played through and will be reviewing. This fan translation is not quite up to the standard of Geofront's brilliant work for Trails from Zero. However, the Azure translation is still pretty good, so thanks to Guren, Flamethrower, and the other translators who worked on this. With that said, the Geofront team will be releasing their own translation of Ao No Kiseki in the near future, so stay tuned for that. Now, with that out of the way, let's look into Ao No Kiseki, a game which many Trails fans label as the best in the entire Trails series. Before we begin, it would help out a lot if you hit like and sub for loads more Trails and RPG content. Also, come say hi on Twitter and Facebook. Alright, let's get into it. Ao No Kiseki is set in the state of Crossbell months after the conclusion of Zero, with a couple of old faces, Wazzy and Noel, joining the special support section. Now, being a Trails game, I really don't want to go into the details of the plot in fear of spoiling this game and other titles in the Trails series, but what I will say is that it is a step up from Zero. Now, Zero was a great game, but I felt that it had a very disappointing antagonist and that the major conflict just felt much smaller in scale than every other Trails game. Ao No Kiseki clearly steps things up a notch by exploring the themes and questions we had from Zero and also presenting a much larger conflict. In typical Trails fashion, the pacing is slow. There is a lot of world building, character development and side quests, and at times I just wanted to get into the meat of the story. I will say that this area was an improvement over Zero as more important story events occurred more frequently. Things really start rocketing forward towards the end of the game, and some of these moments were among my favourite in the entire Trails series.
You shall not pass!
Honestly, I just can't believe that Zero and Azure haven't been officially localized yet. These events deal with the issues of Crossbell and directly tie into the events of Cold Steel games, particularly the third. I can certainly see why everyone seems to recommend playing this Crossbell arc before the third Cold Steel title. Their excellent cast of characters are also greatly expanded on, and the new faces really help liven things up. Azure features an enhanced version of Zero's bonding points, and these are used to unlock a special character-specific event at the final chapter of the game. These points can be gained through many different activities, such as purchasing room decorations and using combo crafts with different characters. This is all good in itself, but the actual value of these bonding points is completely hidden, and it's entirely possible to go through the game without even knowing it exists. I really wanted to know everything I could about this great cast, so I had to resort to YouTube to watch them all. Then there are, of course, cameos from other characters too, like Kevin and Reese from the Sky games, and this is always one of my favourite things about playing Trails games. If you've played Zero, then you can expect a very similar experience in terms of gameplay and presentation. The graphics are identical to Zero, and in true Trails form, the soundtrack is excellent. I swear, some of the boss battle themes are just insane. Like Zero, the game is set in Crossbell, so the vast majority of locations that you visit will be places that you've already been to. I was fine with this, as the city of Crossbell is so big and lively anyway. This time around, you also have a customizable car that allows you to reach locations around the state much faster. As I already thoroughly explored the state in Zero, this was a welcomed addition. The combat system takes the same mechanics from Zero and adds a few new twists. Again, we have the same turn-based system where characters can attack, use arts that cost EP, or unique crafts that use CP. The turn bonuses also play a strategic role, as you have to constantly consider what bonuses are coming up and whether it's worth spending all of your CP on an S-craft to jump the turn order and take advantage of the bonus. To be perfectly honest, I was in two minds about the new additions to the combat system. The first is the burst gauge. At certain points in the game, you can raise your gauge, which will allow you to select burst on the interface. This basically gives your party a load of extra turns, pretty much allowing you to defeat any enemy with ease, even bosses. While the idea here is good, I felt that using burst made things way too easy for the majority of the game, even if I did only play on normal difficulty. The other new addition is the implementation of Master Quartz. If you played the Cold Steel games, you'll know what to expect. This addition is really great. To complement the 7 regular quartz set that each character can equip, they can now equip 1 Master Quartz. This not only provides stat increases and elemental values needed to perform arts, but also comes with passive bonuses too, such as raising your defense when your HP is low. Now, Master Quartz can also increase in strength by leveling it up, and once they reach level 5, a Master Art can be used. Take Rune of Victory for instance. When cast in battle, the party will recover 50 CP and the physical attack damage will be multiplied by 1.5 times so long as it's currently active. This new mechanic is a great idea and really adds a new dimension to battle. My problem with it, however, is that it takes basically the entire game to obtain these Master Arts. This means that the window for using them is incredibly low, and I really would have liked these to be more accessible earlier in the game. Ao No Kiseki, or Trails to Azure, is an absolute must-play for Trails fans, as it's not only an incredibly solid JRPG in all areas, but also provides loads of required information for the rest of the series. As with all of the Trails games, its storytelling, while slow at times, is incredible, and the more I played through it, the more insane it became. The cast of characters is also very strong, and this time around, we learn even more about the kinds of people they really are, as well as their complex backstories. The outstanding soundtrack also deserves a mention, and while not as great as Sky SC's is, it is still something I'm going to be pumping out of my car speakers. If I had to mention a negative, it would be my slight disappointment with the implementation of Master Arts and the burst system. Now, these are great ideas, but weren't utilised as well as they should have been. I still have my fingers crossed that this crossspell arc will be localised soon, because at this point, Ao No Kiseki is definitely up there with the best of the Trails titles. What did you think of Azure? Let me know in the comments below. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you liked this, hit like and sub for loads more RPG and Trails content. Also, come say hi on Twitter and Facebook. See you next time.